Hello and welcome to Lorbek Luxury Cars. I'm Harry and today I've got the pleasure to present to you one of the most special cars we've ever been able to offer. And it's this, the MY 2010 Bentley Brooklands. As the Brooklands is based on the final series of the Bentley Enage, it has a few updates and modifications which make this an even more impressive car than what the first Enage already was. And most importantly, under the bonnet is an update of the Bentley 6 3/4 litre V8. Now it's still a 6 3/4 litre V8, but the capacity's been increased just a tiny bit and they've replaced the Garrett turbochargers with two Mitsubishi turbochargers. This results in a power output of 395 kilowatts, but more importantly, a torque, well, many torque, of 1,050 Newton meters. It's an absolutely incredible amount of torque and it's available all from 3,000 RPM, which means that at the time, this was the most torquey V8 motor ever built, and still one of the most torquey V8 motors ever built today. So what does all that power, opulence and prestige get you? Well, there's only one way to find out. One thing I didn't realise being in the car is how good this car sounds outside. The induction sound, that massive engine gasping for air, combined with that distant, deep drum roll coming from the exhaust, comes together to make a car which sounds totally unique. Just listen. So the answer to that question, pretty surreal. It's a bizarre feeling having all that torque and all that power available just so low in the rev range, particularly now when we're so used to having cars with very small displacement engines but very high output. They're very sort of peaky and the power's never really there. In this, it's totally the opposite. No matter where you are in the rev range, and it doesn't have much of a rev range, I mean I'll show you in a second, but everywhere there's just power and torque and it's just nuts. And when you've got the radio off and you go to accelerate and you come off, you just hear this whoosh. You might have heard just a little bit then. It's so weird to hear all these noises. You'd think driving a Bentley or a car of this nature that it's going to be so surreal and quiet and refined. And it is, it's incredibly refined. But there's still a sense that you're connected to the car mechanically. You can still hear all the whirs and whines and buzzes that actually go on in a car. I mean, cars aren't silent, and this one certainly isn't, but they're all really good noises, and they're all sort of, they just make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. It's just awesome. It's hard to put into context what 1,050 Newton meters of torque feels like, because I don't know, foot down and we're breaking the speed limit. I have to put my... It's totally undramatic. It just launches the car in the most unfussed way. I mean, if this car had a personality, and it does, let me tell you, it would be the kind of person you'd ask it something, it would just look at you and go, "Ooh?" And then you poke it a bit, and you go, just do something, come on, do something. And then its personality changes, and then it just goes and just starts hitting you and going absolutely bonkers. And that's exactly what this car does. You drive around and it's totally undramatic. It's just, if anything, you just expect more. And then when you encourage it and you try and make it do more, it absolutely bites your head off. It's feral. I mean, the thing is with this car, you could argue there is so much wrong with it. The fuel consumption, I reckon the fuel gauge empties quicker than the rev counter goes up. It's quite old-fashioned. It doesn't drive like a modern car. Even a car from 2009, it's a totally different experience. But you know what? It doesn't matter. It's got such a sense of occasion, this car. There's so much theatre. There's so much presence. It's it's an absolutely perfect example of, it's not about how quickly or how fast you do something. It's a masterclass in how you should actually do it. And this car knows how to be a car better than just about any other car on the road. The kind of person who owns this car is someone who is interesting, someone who makes decisions, who actually can influence things. The kind of person who would not buy a car like this is someone who is a bit timid, perhaps. You need some proper balls to buy this car, and you need some proper balls to drive this car too. Don't be fooled by its very, very gentle look. It is an absolute beast. This was bought and owned from new by Australia's second richest person, and drove simply from Vaucluse to the city as a commuter car. It's done very, very easy Ks, very low Ks, and with its full service history, this is actually a car that has not gone backwards for a very long time. It's a car that's held its value and will continue to hold its value just because it's so rare. They only delivered 6 Brooklands into Australia, and you pretty much never see them on the road. And the reason why there were so few sold is because how unbelievably expensive they were. These cars were approaching $1 million back in 2009. $1 million. So it puts it into perspective how good value these cars are, particularly considering that they're not depreciating like a new Mercedes would or a new BMW would. So if you buy this car, you're buying not only a piece of English craftsmanship like nothing else, and a car with a sense of occasion like nothing else, it's actually a relatively affordable car to buy once, of course, you've written out the big check to buy it in the first place.